Welcome to another episode of Prioritize. They accomplish while you drown in lists. It's difficult to juggle your responsibilities. Husband, father, brother. It goes on, but your energy doesn't.
You pondering what I'm pondering?
Prioritize what's right for you, not what's left behind. This is Prioritize with Toby Baker.
You'll have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel.
Greetings, gentlemen and ladies. This is Prioritize. Here we discuss prioritizing faith, family, relationships, and more. I am your crazy white, formerly fat host, the Baker Boy himself. Welcome to the show. And today, we prioritize one of my favoriteest topics ever.
Is it donuts? Please tell us it is donuts. That is a good one.
No, actually, it's summer. Do you remember summer? Now, I know it's been a while because we generally have just the 4 cycles in our seasons, that ranging from fall, winter, spring, and construction. But a long time ago, in a land far, far away, I was a young lad who hadn't heard of work and long hours and TPS reports.
Yeah, you apparently didn't put one of the new cover sheets on your TPS reports.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Do you remember summer? Do you remember when you used to live outdoors? You'd get outdoors just to get away from your siblings, away from your sister. I mean, maybe not so much your brother because you loved your brother. Y'all was cool like that. Y'all cool in the gang and hanging out, bros. You know, but the sister, not so much. I mean, you loved her because you had to love her, right? Otherwise, mom and dad, not so good for you. And mom would tell me, you don't have to, you don't have to love her, you just got to like her. Or you just got to like her, I don't know, something about, one of the two. Anyway, you'd go outside. Like there was this whole realm outside just waiting for you. Now, you would go inside for a while. When I was a kid, we lived in a nice ranch house and had a full-on basement. I mean, this thing stretched the entire length of the house. It was ginormous. It was really big. I'm trying to tell you it was big. It was bigger than a baby's arm. I'm saying that much right there. I mean, this thing was huge. I'd go downstairs. It was like 65 degrees down there. It was lovely. But really, the only times I went down there was when we were going to play Super Mario Brothers or Legend of Zelda. And yes, I did not hang on to those copies. Mine were not the ones that went for $867,000. But nevertheless, maybe I could find them later on along with my loss to Bitcoin. And I only have 3 more tries before it's gone forever. We would go down to the basement where it was nice and super cool and we played Nintendo for a little bit and eat some pizza rolls. My folks used to get the Schwans. You ever heard of Schwans? Fabulous food. Really, really good. Anyway, the Schwans man would come around. It was kind of like Christmas time. We knew we were getting some good food. They would get these chicken nuggets that were amazing. But for some odd, I know the reason why Mom and Dad stopped getting the chicken nuggets. They told me, we're not going to keep getting the chicken nuggets if you keep using them for a midnight snack. And I'm like, what? Who? Me? It's the midnight snack? Come on. It's more like 1 or 2 a.m. I mean, what else are you going to eat at 2 in the morning when there's nothing else to do except sleep? And who's going to be a 12-year-old sleeping at 2 a.m.? Honestly, wasn't me. So, yeah, summer. Remember summer? We had an uncle who would roll around. He had this beautiful T-top Camaro. I mean, he was the 80s uncle to the core. He, wore the jean denim cutoffs. He had the mullet, but it looked cool on him somehow. I don't know. The guy always looked cool. Anyway, he had his beautiful T-top Camaro. He'd come rolling in and be like, all right, guys, everybody in. And we're there. We got our towels in one hand. We got the popsicle dripping in the other, the 2-stick popsicle. Remember, you would split it, and you're supposed to share it with your sister. Suffice it to say, she didn't get a whole lot of my popsicles, but I still liked her. I may not have loved her, but I liked her. I mean, okay, I've since quasi matured since then, and flip flop. So I love my sister. Okay, she's a good poison. She tried really hard, really. No, but you're supposed to share the popsicle with your sibling. Sometimes it got to the sibling. Okay, get off my case. But yeah, Uncle James come in with the T-top Camaro and It's like everybody in, and there wasn't enough space for everybody, but you made enough space for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Not that we did anything illegal. I heard of people who did that. That wasn't us. We were strictly legal. We stayed at the speed limit of 45 miles per 50 miles per hour, something like that. I don't know. He'd have Def Leppard rolling in the speakers. He had these, nice, 6.5-inch Pioneers or whatever. That's blasting out the Def Leppard, and we're on this Camaro, man. He's taking us over to the swimming hole at there's a pond, and there's this rope. It's tied to a tree limb, and you're like, that thing's not going to hold. Look at it. There's moss covered all over the rope, and things deteriorated. It's, it's been hanging there since, I don't know, Reagan was in office. There's all these other strangers there. They're all just there hanging out, cooling and whatever, and they're swimming at this hole. Why? Because it's summertime. That's what you did in Indiana in the summertime, man. You went down to the swimming hole and you met strangers and you jumped crazily into this lake. You didn't even know where the bottom was. And there's probably all kinds of, pond snakes, and you didn't care. You didn't care. You were having fun. You're with your uncle. You're with your friends. You're meeting new, buddies. And that's what we did in the summer. Do you remember summer? The cousins would come over, and Pops would go over to the Colonel. We called him the Colonel. We used to call him Kentucky Fried Chicken. Today they've completely changed that, and rightly so, let me tell you that. He'd grab a couple buckets of chicken, or 3 or 4, and he'd bring them on. I wonder, this one time I got in big trouble because I loved the breading on the chicken, man. It tasted so good. That's all that I wanted. I didn't care about the actual chicken. Like, I don't need this. I would throw it away. I got yelled at by like 4 different adults all at the same time. What are you doing? I didn't realize I was, doing a crime, but you guess you don't do that. And then, Mom and aunts are all cutting up a watermelon, this ice-cold watermelon. They brought out the bottom of the fridge, been there since yesterday or the day before, and we weren't supposed to touch it because we had family coming over, and we're saving the watermelon. As soon as they pull the watermelon out, to slice it up in slices, and the cousins and I, man, we'd reach in there and grab the slices. We'd start eating up that watermelon and spit the seeds out as far as those seeds could go. We'd play baseball in the front yard and soccer in the front. Oh, man, we had this awesome soccer tournament. I don't mean to brag. I won. It was a big deal. I think there was trophies involved. There was a video camera shooting the whole thing. I mean, this was a massive tournament. You had to be there. I mean, if you weren't there, I'm sorry about your luck. Remember doing firecrackers in the backyard? We had one. Everyone remembers this because Grandpa Wright almost lost it. We had a firecracker jump. He always wore these polos and khakis with white tennis shoes, and the polos all had this left pocket on the shirt, on the front of the shirt. There was just a pocket, and I didn't know why they had them there, but they did. Anyway. He had those jumping jacks and the firecrackers jumped right in his pocket. The guy almost lost it. We cracked up so bad. We all asked him if he was okay afterward, obviously. To this day, we all talk about it. It was amazing. He'd play basketball in the driveway. We didn't even have a basketball hoop. And then Grandpa and Pops, they installed a basketball hoop one year. And I just go out there and just play and shoot baskets. I wasn't great at it, but it was just fun. You're outside. You got days at the park. You got the picnics, and you're eating the bologna sandwiches and the Ruffles with Ridges potato chips with the French onion dip and the Doritos, and then boom, you're right back at the swing sets and the teeter-totter and the slides. We were always given wax paper because the slides needed cleaning, so we were told to sit on a tuchus on the wax paper and slide down a few times. And, man, we were the hit of the park. You don't realize. That was big stuff. When it was sunny outside, you'd go out on the swings in the mid-afternoon. You'd just be out there just a swinging. You'd get you'd try to pull out your stereo. And I didn't have one of the huge beatbox stereos like the Spike Lee joints with the tall guy and the huge stereo on his shoulders. Mine was just a small radio, and I can't remember if it was battery operated. It must have been battery operated. I always remember running out of batteries. So you'd get like 3 or 4 extension cords together so you can listen to the radio out on the swing sets. When it rained, it was a different story. I mean, you can't go play in the swings when it's raining, right? So instead, I'd have to put on my best detective outfit. You know, got the gray trench coat and the fedora or the baseball cap, whatever I get my hands on, and you know, you got the jeans on and the shiny shoes, and you're a detective, and you go outside and it's raining, and I'd always act like I'm in the movies, and I'm in that scene with the detective and the criminal, and you know, he's getting the guy and, you know, arresting him, and yeah, that was summer. And did you ever do stuff like that? You take a long bike ride because it's summer and it's hot out and you're going to get out of the house. You want to go do something. You don't want to stay at the house. If you're at the house, Mom would make you clean something. God forbid you helped Mom clean something. So you take these long bike rides. You go find a mud hole. You just play in the mud. We would go to camp every year as a kid. And, I mean, some of the big things that you did was you went around collecting all the aluminum cans. Then you go up to the snack bar when a snack bar opened. And there's this long line because everyone was wanting to get this stuff. Grape Faygo soda. Oh, wasn't that amazing at camp? And then if you had some extra change, or if you could scarf some extra change from some of your buddies, you get the orange ice cream pops in a cone, right? And then you get the pizza from the cafe when your mom gave you a nice $5, $10 bill, and you were like the envy of the camp kids because you're there at the cafe, at the snack bar with a pizza. Oh, that was boss. That was huge back then. Remember the pickup games at the basketball court? The pickup games, I mean, people just start showing up, right? Like you'd bike over there with a Spalding and it was riddled with like 2 or 3 eggs on the side. I mean, just bulging out the side because your siblings would kick it like it was a soccer ball and you'd smack them over that. Hey, that's my basketball. Or, you know, perhaps some of those eggs tended to show up after the loser of the last basketball game just kicked it. And we won't mention who that was, except to say he had really good hair. Kids would just show up and start playing on the teams. I mean, it didn't matter which team they played on. Age didn't matter. Color didn't matter. Background didn't matter. And most definitely, the clothes didn't matter. What mattered was they were just out there playing. When it got too dark, it was time for dinner. You invited everybody. Hey, just come on over to my house, man. Mom's cooking something. I don't know what it's going to be. And everyone hops on their bikes and they run on over to the house. Man, you're speeding through dinner because you got to get back outside, smash some lightning bugs on your. Well, let me interject. I didn't take the lightning bugs and smash them on my arm for the glow in the dark gel. But I knew of people who did that, right? Like I'm a conservationist, man. I'm a conservative with the bugs, so that wasn't me. But mosquitoes were everywhere, so I definitely was smashing the mosquitoes. And then you play Ghosts in the Graveyard until everybody had to go home. You just couldn't wait until the next day and see if you could do it all over again. We lived in the country, like 5-7 miles out from everybody. There's this big tar road. Right, and people would just, you know, fly down it. But in the summertime, it got real hot. It was humid, and you could just watch the tar bubbling up. So what was the cool thing to do? Hop on your bike, start riding up and down the road. You hear them bubbles pop, right? And we'd go through the living room and flip over all the cushions on the couch and the chair and just flipping over furniture, trying to find as much change as we could. Then we'd bike on down. We had this place called Best Music and Video. It used to be called Karma Music and Video in my hometown where I grew up. And we'd bike over there and we'd just delicately walk through all the movies. Which one have we seen? Which one is available? Is this one any good? You know, we'd look it over like, I don't know. This is from the 70s. Jim Cotta, I don't even, it doesn't sound very good. On the flip side of the coin, if it had the word ninja in it, it had to be awesome, right? Yeah, Ninja 1, 2, 3, Ninja the Domination. Oh, those were horrible. But as a kid, you're like, oh, it's got the word ninja. It's got martial arts. We're going to have to watch this. And yeah, Jim Cotta, dumb name. I can't remember even finishing that thing. But you had to watch it because it was a martial arts movie. When you did want a movie, you're looking for a video game. You're like, okay, Rad Racer, that's a good one. Let's get that. Let's get Spy. What was that? Spy game? There was a Spy game. It wasn't Spy versus Spy. No, I think it was Spy versus Spy. I don't know. That was cool. Like, you just play for hours, and then you'd go back outside, until it got dark out, and then you'd go back downstairs. You'd play until 2 in the morning, like, I'm kind of hungry. Maybe it's time for some chicken nuggets. No one wore a watch. When we got hungry, we were scrounging around for whatever morsels of food you could score. It might be a microwaved hot dog, a box of mac and cheese. We didn't look at the cell phones all day, wondering if somebody was texting us. There was no such thing back then. We weren't scrolling through YouTube videos for hours on end on some, rabbit hole into what you started looking out for was what was the name of the movie with Gary Busey, which turned into the 10 Things You Love About Gary Busey, which turned into his net worth and why he and Steven Seagal don't get along and on and on. And before you know it, you look up like 2.5 hours. No, don't want none of that. Al Gore hadn't even invented the internet yet. We didn't have Filofaxes to total Filofax. Okay, so Filofax was it was basically like a calendar and a book and a content. It was everything that's in your phone in notebook form. You had to use a pen. They called it a pen or a pencil. It was a writing instrument, and you would have to write down manually the name of the person, address, phone number, zip code, and any kind of notes you'd want on them. You would have to physically write in what appointment you wanted to schedule in. You couldn't just say, hey, Siri, remind me tomorrow of an oil change over in such and such. There was no Siri or Google or Alexa. Our social network back then was limited to the neighborhood kids and the cousins who came to visit once a year. A friend, we called a friend, it was someone who would give you a piece of gum out of his fresh open pack of baseball cards. You remember those baseball cards? You peel open that pack, there's a stick of gum in there. You know it was a true friend when he gave up the gum. And you guys would just sit there and go through the baseball cards together. Or if you were the one who screwed up, he'd be the one to give you his last dollar to buy a baseball when you smashed the last one that you had in your possession out of all the players, and you smash it in the neighbor's yard, guarded by a 6-foot-tall St. Bernard who eats kids like you for a mid-afternoon snack. You grew up a little bit, got yourself a car. Remember summertime with the car? I had a 1991 two-door Ford Escort. It was silver, tinted windows with a hatchback, and I had these Rockford Fosgate speakers. Oh, man, it was a dual 12-inch Rockford Fosgate speakers. They were amazing. I had what was called a CD player. Have you heard of these? If you look in the archives in Google, they might, I can't guarantee, they might still have some images of the compact disc player. And that would be Velcroed onto a disc stand, and that would get drilled into the cup holder of the 1991 gray Ford Escort two-door hatchback with tinted windows. We had these wheels. They were aluminum wheels. They were kind of, well, not aluminum, more like chrome. They were chrome wheels, except they were plastic. So it looked like chrome, actually plastic, because I could barely afford any of that. But, man, we would wash that. We'd spend the day washing the car, drying the car, waxing the car. We'd have some Will Smith on in the background, cruising around Angola, looking for a place to go to church for the next day. And then we would have some fellowship, and that's what we did on Saturday evenings. My fellow brethren and I, after washing and waxing the car all day, we would cruise around looking for church services the next day. And then you'd go through McDonald's a few times, blasting some Def Leppard and, seeing who else was there. We would all go over to a friend's house. He had his pool and a jacuzzi. We were older, like in high school, getting ready to graduate high school. And they had this sweet pool and jacuzzi, and the mom didn't care how many of our people showed up, which is generally, I don't know, like 10, 12 people. And then when you get tired playing the pool and playing in the jacuzzi, you come inside, you watch either Major League or Grease. I think they had 75 different movies, but those were the only two that mattered, right? And why did we do that? Because it was summer, man. That's what you did in Indiana in the summertime. You know, when the cousins come over, sometimes they'll make you do stupid things, right? One year they're coming over and they're visiting, and they had us convinced we had to go door to door because when the kids, we didn't have a pool in our yard. Not like we did when, we never had a pool in our yard. It was either somebody else's, but cousins come over and they're like, hey, go over there and ask them if we can use their pool. All right. Now, I'm being the eldest brother, so I felt it more important that I should supervise, and so I delegated that very important responsibility to my younger sister and my younger brother, and they would go around and they would knock on doors, and they'd ask them, hey, can we use your pool? We didn't know anything about the insurance and liability, and even if we did, I don't think we would have cared, man, because it was summer. You get a little older. You're not kids anymore. You're not in high school anymore. Maybe you're grown up. Maybe you be some grown folk. You got a wife. You got kids. You kind of settled down. Summertime for you means a nice, beautiful-looking lawn, manicured lawn. You spend half the day or the whole day just mowing down that lawn. You go one direction with the blade all the way, the deck all the way set up, and then another direction just slightly once again, so you get that perfect crisscross effect. You got the edger trimmer out, you got the weed whacker out, man, you're getting that sidewalk manicured, you got the leaf blower out, you're blowing all the clippings away or back into the lawn so that it gets clipped and remulched next time. And at the end of the day, you're walking around in your bare feet on the fresh mowed grass, looking at the manicured lawn with an ice-cold IBC root beer, surveying your kingdom and breathing in the goodness. Because this is summertime in Indiana. I, for one, if you were to ask me, believe it's high time we once again prioritize summer like the days of old, where we put down the phone and pick up a basketball, where we turn off the screens and turn on the sprinklers with the kids, roast some mellows over the fire, and like our good friend Smalls, learn to take the graham, then the chocolate, then take the mellow, and make ourselves a proper s'mores. And maybe share with the kids. Let's grab whatever change we can find from the cushions in the couch and the chair, as if we've never heard of PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. And we'll race down the street with the kids to snag an orange push-up, or maybe even an ice cream sandwich if we got enough scratch. We can grab the neighbors for a friendly neighborhood game of kickball in the yard, and I think we could take some much-needed time away from our precious business and social feeds to throw the kids in the back seat down with a swimsuit and a towel, blast some 80s, and squeal off to the nearest swimming hole for an afternoon of screaming into the wind while we barely make it into the lake after swinging out over the water by rope that's barely hanging on to the limb with some moss and threads. Afterwards, maybe we pick up a bucket or two from the Colonel and have a seed-spitting contest right before we create our own glow-in-the-dark arm gel and play ghosts in a graveyard. I promise you, folks, I promise you, all the politics and troubles of the world will be there waiting to steal your joy upon return. However, the summer only lasts so long, and kids don't stay kids forever. But then again, that's just my humble opinion.